Hi class. Today's lesson is lesson 3-8. It's on interpreting the quotient. Now we've studied how to divide decimals by whole numbers and divide decimals by decimals. Now we're going to look at the word problems associated with division, and we're going to be able to interpret that answer for our use. Our purpose, please copy this down, is to solve problems by interpreting the quotient. There's no new vocabulary for this. Let's look at the first example here. It says Ken will use 87 kilograms of cornstarch to make gift bags of slime for his friends. If each gift bag requires 1,500 kilograms of cornstarch, how many bags of slime can he make? Well, the first thing that we're going to do is we need to understand the problem. Here we have Ken, and he's got a certain amount of cornstarch. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly draw a bag with cornstarch. In this bag, he has only 87 hundredths of a kilogram. Or maybe that's a lot. I don't know in terms of cornstarch. Boy, that's really poor writing. But that says 87 kilograms, 87 hundredths of a kilogram. What they want us to do with this 87 hundredths of a kilogram is find out how many little bags of 1,500 hundredths kilograms we can make from that. Okay, so I'm just going to draw a question mark and figure out how many of these smaller bags can we make out of this bigger bag. The data that they give us, of course, is the 87 hundredths kilogram and the 1,500 hundredths kilogram. Next step tells us we've got to go ahead and make a plan. So, with that in mind, how can we figure out how many bags we need given this data? Well, if I'm taking 15 kilograms at a time, this kind of leads us to believe that we need to do division here. So the division problem being 87 hundredths divided by 15 hundredths. Now 87 hundredths divided by 15 hundredths needs to be estimated first. So let's take this a step further. And let's say that's going to be about 1,500 hundredths divided into 90 hundredths. Now I picked 90 hundredths because I know 15 goes into 90. And how many times does 15 go into 90? Well, I know that goes 1, 2, about 6 times. So I'm going to put a 6 here because I know that in the end that number's got to be close to 6. Let's go ahead and work the problem. I'm actually going to go ahead and erase this to make it a bit better. So we got 15 hundredths into 87 hundredths. Of course, we're going to move the decimal point in the divisor because we should not have a decimal in the divisor. We'll move that over 2 places. We need to move the decimal point in the dividend 2 places. So now our problem becomes 15 into 87. 15 goes into 87, I know, 5 times. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 2 is 5 plus 2 is 7. 75, so we subtract that here. And I get 12. Now, remember, we're not going to deal with remainders right now, so I'm going to go ahead and put a decimal point where it belongs in the dividend, right after the ones place, and I need to do that as well in the quotient. I'm going to put a 0 after that decimal because a 0 doesn't change the value of this number. I'll bring down that 0. Now, how many 15s go into 120? Well, I know 10 times 150 is 150. This is a matter of sort of guessing. So do I use a 9? Do I use an 8? Well, let's try the 8. Might get us down lower. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 1 is 8 plus 4 is 12. So that works out perfectly. 5 and 8/10. Well, what's the label on this? Well, it's actually bags. But I'm not going to put the label on there yet because I'm going to look back at the question. It says, how many bags of slime can he make? He can make 5 and 8/10 bags. So he can make 5 bags. And 1 bag has only a little bit. 8/10. Well, that's probably a little less than 8/10. If I were to shade all these fully, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 8/10 would be most of the bag, but not quite this all of the 6 bags. So how many total bags? So realistically, we're talking about he can fill only 5 bags. So our answer is not 5.8, it is 5 complete bags. Okay. Let's take a look at our next problem. It's a similar example. There are 246 students in the 6th grade. If Miss Lee buys rolls of film with 24 exposures each, how many rolls will she need to take every student's pictures? Well, we need to understand the problem here as well. Trying to figure out how many rolls we need to buy. Rolls of film. Now, each roll has 24 exposures. So let's make this number, 246, into a number that we can easily work with, a compatible number. We have around 240 students. We have 24 exposures. That tells us right there, well, how many rolls do we need for this? So 24 exposures per roll. I know that I have 240 students, so it looks like I'm going to need 10 rolls in order to take the pictures of all the students. That's back when we used to use film, folks. 240 students, 24 exposures. It's going to take about 10 rolls. Now we have 246 students, however. So in this problem, we're going to go ahead and divide 246 by 24. It's a little more than that 240. Let's go ahead and work through the problem. Bring down the 6 here. How many 24s into 6? Well, there's 0. So we've got 10 rolls. And then I'm going to put a decimal point in the dividend and the quotient because I'm going to add a 0, which doesn't change the value at all in the dividend. When I bring down, let me go ahead and subtract the zeros here. When I bring down that 0, how many 24s go into 0? Well, there's 2 of them. That's 48. Now I've got subtraction problem gives me 12. Again, I'm going to put down another 0, bring it down. It's 120. And I know 5 times 24 is 120. So right now, I need 10 and 25 hundredths of a roll. Well, I can't buy a partial roll, so I need to step that up to 11 total rolls. This decimal tells us, yeah, I need a partial film roll, but you can't buy a partial film roll at the store. You need to buy a whole other roll, so what you end up with is 11 rolls of film need to be bought. Now, certainly you'll have extra exposures, extra film for whatever kind of pictures you want. Maybe they want to take pictures of the staff with those extra rolls. All right, lastly, I'm going to go ahead and skip example 3. You could, if you wanted, try to solve it. We could do that in class, but I do want to go directly to the complete the problem, and I'm going to require you to do. It says, tell how you would interpret the quotient. A group of 27 students will ride in vans that carry 12 students each. How many vans are needed? Now, obviously, this is going to be a division problem. And you're going to have to take a look at the quotient to determine what is it that truly answers the question. How many vans do they need? I'll give you a hint. You can't use a partial van in order to carry groups of students. All right? We will see you in class.